Hey Dr. Smith, this is Kyle. Just want to do a quick video response for the class. And I just want to talk about something. I want to talk about blackness for a minute. What does it mean to be authentically black? I know you hate talking about what it means to be authentically black, because there's no true, honest-to-God definition of what it means to be authentically black. And just reading on from my pathology, I gotta say, that was ridiculous. I just couldn't believe it, but that is true, though. That is how most people who are in upper middle class towards the top 1% view lower income project living black people. Unfortunately, they think these stories, my pathology and fuck by Stag Lee, is real, and it's unbelievable to me sometimes. It's like I can believe it now that I'm older, but if I was reading this and still in high school, wouldn't be able to believe it, not one bit. This is how they still see us in the 21st century. Can't get past that. But I want to talk about the ending, towards the end of the book. How he hoped that this book would not be chosen as the best book of the year kind of award that it was going on at the time. And it's like, and he had the conversation with all the owners of the General Mills and General Electric, the husband and wives, the spouses of these companies, the owners and the spouses of these companies. And it's like, they don't really get it. They don't understand what's happening. They really don't get it. They don't even care. It's like, it's there. Oh well, that is how life is for black people, and yeah, they just didn't care. And it's like, to be authentically black, to have no masks, or it's not necessarily to have no mask, but to be able to have a dual consciousness, as W.E.B. Du Bois would say. And it makes me think a lot about my own blackness and how I can truly relate to Thelonious when he's talking about his background to other people of color. They would think he's a white kid trying to be black. He's a white kid in a black kid's body. Or he's a white guy inside of a black man's body. And I can relate to that. As a person who comes from DisMet, it's like, I don't know. I can truly relate to that. Because I faced those same kind of issues going to DisMet and also coming to SLU. It's like, you think you all, it's not necessarily, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. It's not overt as it was for Thelonious. It's not overt. It's more like how they constantly remind me that I'm in school, or they constantly comment on the fact that I'm in college, or that I have a proper speech tone, or anything like that. And it's just really, really strange to me to be, it's strange, but at the same time, I'm always reminded of that, no matter what. I'm always going to be reminded of that. No, any time of the day, doesn't matter. I'll be reminded that I have a proper speech tone, that you're not black, you don't fit in, you're doing this. Even though I have this, that's not enough. It's not enough. Or this. It's not enough to be considered authentically black. I have to wear my clothes a certain way, I have to act a certain way. I can't act like myself to be authentically black. And I feel like Thelonious, towards the end, he knew he couldn't be himself when writing this book. That's why he had no thought, and he just laid out what people wanted to hear, so he can just put a response to whatever Juanita Jenkins had. And it's like, it's weird to me. It's really weird to me. I just don't understand it. But that is how it is, unfortunately, still today in the 21st century. You know, these kind of implications of race. And I don't even like using the word race, to be honest with you, Doc. It's like, I've talked with this with multiple people, including Marissa, about the concept of race. It's like, there's only one race, it's the human race and stuff like that. And it's like, I just don't like using the word race in that kind of term. So, I think of it as ethnicity. What it means to be truly, authentically, ethnically black is really the issue that's going on here. But I don't know, it's just really weird to me. Another thing I wanted to talk about was well, there was another thing I wanted to talk about. Oh yes, that's right. I wanted to talk about the last bits between Thelonious and his mother. It really touched me inside. It's like, throughout the book, there's multiple kinds of strange things happening. People getting shot, people getting killed. Thelonious reading some crazy book that he thought should have never existed, and he writes a response to that video. But just the way that Percival brings everything to a halt, and it's almost like a movie. I love the way it's set up because it feels like a movie. It's like, you kind of don't like, it's kind of hard to get into in the beginning of the book, but where, you know, going through all this crazy stuff, all the crazy traumatic and all the action and all the other stuff, and then you bring it all to this one scene. Not necessarily a climax of the movie, the climactic scene, but maybe this emotional scene that some movies have. And it felt very much like that when he was in a hospital with his mother, and she was closing her eyes, and she was telling him, like, do I smell like I think she was talking about, do I smell like some type of flowers or something like that, like the garden or something, and he's saying, like, no, Mom, you don't smell like anything. And she was just talking about how he was just like his dad, being really sweet and stuff like that. And it really hit home for me, I think. To me, it hit home for me, because I wouldn't know how to talk to my mother if she was closing her eyes slowly all the time, and she was really sick, and she was, you know, on her deathbed. I wouldn't know what to do. But he handled it right, and he, you know, did it correctly. And it kind of goes back to the end where he was talking to on the panel, he was talking about him receiving this reward for his book that no one knows that he wrote it, but he's finally coming out of the closet saying that it was me, I wrote it, in a like a poetic kind of way. The audience was not the audience present at the award ceremony, but he was talking to his mother. And I thought that was really touching. And I love that about him. It's like, wow, it's incredible. But I don't know. that book was something else. And also another thing I liked about the book it was interesting how, and I think I forgot which page it was on, but it said like this book is going to be talked about in class. It's going to be taught in class, and it's funny how we're reading this book in class, but it's just little small stuff like that. I was like, ooh, Easter egg, ooh, Dr. Smith, you got me right there. But no, it's just it felt like a movie. At first, I didn't like it, but the more I started to read into it and kind of looking back on it now and thinking about the other books that he wrote, especially the one titled Fuck, he had fuck all over the book. But when it was published, they had beep, 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 covering up the authentic language. And I thought that was kind of interesting how people think that this is authentically black, but they're taking away the authentic language of humanity and just basically making it a robot, or a circumcised baby, basically. Or neutered, not necessarily a circumcised baby, but a neutered child, or a neutered piece of work, without its thing, without the title, without the hook that books should have. And that book that he wrote, just like My Pathology, it didn't have the hook. And so they bleeped it out. All the cussing was bleeped out. Everything was just ridiculous. I hated it. And I was kind of mad about it, even though he was also. But, I don't know. I gotta say, that was a pretty good book. I mean, there were some parts, it just, like I said, it felt like a movie. It's like, there were parts where it was like, whoa. And then there were parts where you had to sit back and it kind of touched your heart, especially the scene like I just described with him and his mother in the hospital. And then also at the end where he's basically telling people that he wrote it, but he's also looking crazy on live television. So it's like, whoa, this is weird. Like everything is just like all the secrets after the movie is done about the wrap up is revealed and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, this is quite impressive. So, yeah. And today we went by to Clayton. We'll talk about this later on Monday about Clayton. I was highly disappointed about what happened in Clayton. Yeah. But that's what I want to talk about for this video. Catch you on Monday. Have a good weekend, and see you soon.